Welcome back. Here we go.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't count down.
So, last week, someone in this dynamic duo, well, you can point the fingers, but you don't know what I'm going to say,
Yes, I do.
registered a complaint that,
A complaint? What?
maybe it was time to upgrade our software a little bit and add some
Oh,
elements that we don't currently have. And so I fired the technical guy. I went over to the star's dressing room and I polished her star.
guess the fingerprint pointing should be this way then.
Yes, the fingerprinting. is yours.
Fingerprinting, yeah.
I fired him and I hired a new guy. He's just as old though. He's completely out of date. But
He's just as cute.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
We're trying some new technology out and we're doing our first live broadcast.
Woohoo!
So this is a warning. These are sometimes the best shows. You know how when you're driving down the highway, right? And there's a train wreck, and no matter how much a train wreck or a car wreck, we'll leave trains for later. And no matter how much you try, you can't stop yourself from looking, even though you're endangering everyone. And you know everyone in front of you and behind you is doing it. Well, that's probably why you want to stay tuned to this show, because it's likely to be a train wreck. I've spent a fair amount of time learning how to do the technology, and hopefully it will work. But in the meantime, I would ask that you subscribe to our YouTube or Gab channel and or Facebook, and that you join us in sharing this. We have heard so many of you sharing it, and our views are way, way up.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
we're really excited about that across all platforms. I'll just reiterate, we do YouTube because it does have the best distribution, and it does allow for live broadcast, which Gab doesn't. But we also know we're probably even today going to say some things that will, in this modern era, get us removed. And so we just want you to know, if you want to stay connected, you need to get over to Gab and get subscribed. We are also working on some other platform changes that will be coming in the coming weeks. I may have to fire more staff and rehire, but we're just going to keep at it and keep trying to improve the show. One of the things you're going to notice is there's a little crawl across the bottom of the screen. So what do they do? What do the YouTubers do? So right down there, you'll see like and subscribe. So like and subscribe and ring the bell and all the other things you're supposed to say. So I have to start with did you have anything else you want to say?
No, it's just hard not to look at it though.
Don't look at the beautiful, I know, don't look at all the beautiful lights.
It's very, very mesmerizing.
It's like that train wreck. Like I have to watch it. So, but we'll get there. We're going to get there. We promise. One of the things we're going to be able to do today is we're going to be able to share little banners like you see here. This one is my confession to you, because last week I surprised you, which I understand you're going to do at the end of the show to me. But I surprised you with a story. I didn't tell you who was the person who wrote it.
Yes, you did.
But I surprised you with a story.
Yeah.
About, it was J.D. Greer. And it was about this comment that he made, a very, very nice article he wrote in the Gospel Coalition called Ambiguity is Not Kindness. But I have to confess that what I did not talk about in that was the part of that article that bothered me, which is that he didn't confess his role
that bothered
in
me
ambiguity.
too.
Because
I feel like you tricked me into thinking J.D. Greer had changed.
Could you forgive me? Do you think you could find it in your heart to
I
forgive
will
me?
try to find it.
Because I have something I want you to see. This is from Twitter, and someone put this together. And we now have the ability to do this. So I don't know if you probably shouldn't look, but you and I are over there in the corner. See us in the corner over there?
I'm trying not to look at the
don't look at us over there in the corner. So people can still see us, but they can also see what it is that we're sharing. And what we're sharing is a little compilation video of people who have been either ambiguous or more than ambiguous on
recently I heard, I read an article where J.D. Greer was speaking, and where J.D. Greer was speaking, and I loved what he said. He said, homosexuality doesn't send you to hell. He said, I know that because being heterosexual doesn't send you to heaven.
Homosexuality does not send you to hell. You know how I know that? because heterosexuality does not send you to heaven.
What sends you to hell is refusing to allow
I
Jesus.
All
remember
right,
that
so
verse.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I
And
think I know
so
that verse.
and
Yeah.
so that's a clever little saying,
Yeah.
but it fails in logic. Specifically, no one is claiming that heterosexuality sends you to heaven.
Right.
So
Hmm.
connecting those two is simply a logical trick.
Yeah.
And look, he may regret saying that, but he did say it. And the right thing to do, what he should have done in that article, is confess. Here's
To be
more.
the Lord and center of your life, regardless of how it manifests, right? And I just, when I heard that, I was like, oh man, that just really sums it up. And again, for most parents, you know, they don't get that, and so that's part of our ministry is helping parents and understanding that journey. That's the thing that can keep parents hemmed up for a long time.
Homosexuality does not send you to hell. You know how I know that? Because heterosexuality does not send you to heaven.
So that is J.D. Greer, who wrote
Yeah.
that sermon or who hired someone to write that sermon. And then that's the next SBC president, Ed Litton, saying exactly the same thing.
Copycat.
Yeah. And he
Copycat
served
pastor.
1 year as president of the SBC a couple of years ago and then did not run again, which is the tradition, primarily because of the
Excuse me.
criticism and scandal around a number of sermons that he had lifted from others. This next one is Tim Keller, and I'm showing you these all in connection with the Andy Stanley story, which is what J.D. Greer was quote unquote responding to, but responding to without proper confession. And here's what lies at the heart of this. I'm not sharing any of this because we're perfect or because we have all the
right.
answers,
Yeah.
but J.D. Greer is right about this. Ambiguity is not kindness.
No, you don't go to hell for being homosexual.
But committing homosexual acts will get you to go to hell?
No, wait a minute, wait.
Right. No, because, you know, some people
Well,
say,
no, yeah.
well, it's not the homosexuality or being gay, it's doing gay stuff.
No,
That's the problem.
No, first of all, heterosexuality does not get you to heaven. I happen to know this. Right.
So there it is again. And look, it's hard. Like, this is really hard. But I came across something that I think is really, really good because it is a little poem by a nobody, right? At least I think she's a nobody, Kitty Murray. But I saw this on social media and I think it's really good because I think it's the right approach. Because when we think about these things, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the issue is.
Mm-hmm.
If God says it's sin, then it's just sin. Like, that's all. There's no need for careful parsing or is it the thought of, or it's just what God says. And we don't get to determine what God says. And I love this. I think this is really,
Okay.
It says, if I look on ones I love and see them rejecting truth, the truth that Scripture dictates right and wrong about their morality, relationships, sexuality. And if I watch in grief and horror as my loved ones act upon that rejection of truth in their beliefs and behavior, oh, how sweet an escape it would be to abandon my grief and horror by simply altering what I believe. If I choose to ignore the truths that my loved ones have broken themselves upon, I can avoid such agony. Rather than face my pain in its fullness, I can lessen or obliterate it if I choose to believe God says less than he really does. I will appear more compassionate, more tolerant, when in reality, I'm adopting the view that is a result of emotional cowardice. I have neatly sidestepped a chasm of suffering. I need now not weep over erring children. I need not agonize in prayer. I have reasoned away such investments in them and made my love so much easier. I have shown cowardice by asserting myself as more compassionate than God himself. I am, in essence, redefining him and his attributes. I'm replacing the consuming fire with a soft glow of benign tolerance. I'm exerting cowardice by refusing to identify with the cross. And this one really ripped me up. I am looking on Jesus, the suffering servant, and saying to his blood-stained face, I choose not to love as you do. Your love sweats drops of blood, and I cannot do that. I will look on the thieves on their crosses and casually include both in your kingdom. It is easier that way.
Yeah.
And if, Kitty writes, if I choose this wide way, limiting my faith to that which makes love easy, may a more noble soul ache over me in prayer and grieve over me in love. And that's really, I think and again, I had to start out with this because I needed to like clear the air on the rest of that. I'm very happy that J.D. Greer wrote what he wrote, but the truth is that we don't, as Christians, and the rest of the show's not this heavy, but we as Christians don't have the freedom to determine this sort of thing. That's not our call. We don't get to make those calls.
Yeah.
And so we just want to encourage anyone who's going through a difficult time to recognize that you can't be more compassionate than Jesus, but there are ways to deal with this issue that are compassionate. And we told our kids in Sunday school this morning about this idea that when you see someone rushing towards danger, the compassionate response is not to be silent because you don't know how they'll take it or how they'll respond. The compassionate response is to tell them, hey, danger is coming and you need to be warned.
Yeah.
So that's what I have. What did you have?
Well, what do you have next up on the computer part? Like when you're doing the next thing. I'm okay.
Unhyperbole
All
of
right.
the week.
So we've been doing the hyperbole of the week. And if you don't know what that means, go back to our first podcast. We talk about what hyperbole is and how it's being used to gaslight us. And so, but this week, these comments were so underwhelming for the catastrophe that happened.
Oh my goodness.
It has to
in
be
Ohio?
Yeah, it has to be the unhyperbole of the week.
I get it now. You're downplaying.
Downplaying.
This is actually a real thing, and we're just going to pretend it's nothing.
Yes.
Whereas Biden might in the campaign trail say they're going to put you all back in chains, which is clearly hyperbole. This is the
Clearly.
opposite.
Okay.
So you've got a story to go with this?
So everybody is finally aware of the train derailment in Ohio, in East Palestine, Ohio. It took, 9 days until any reporters
Yeah,
were
it's
reporting on it, or really before it came out.
It's really
It's
unbelievable.
shocking how long it was. We were aware of it because my younger brother lives in Ohio, near there. And we were very concerned about what was going on. Anyway, so our fearless transportation secretary,
Oh, he's fearless.
who constantly is just trying to chug away to get up that mountain. I think I can do this job. I can go from being a nobody mayor and doing nothing to being the transportation secretary and doing a magnificent job.
Oh, it's fabulous.
In the airlines and the boats, the shipping cargo ships being stored, stocked, stacked out in the LA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that he's been such a stellar transportation
Oh, yeah,
secretary.
fabulous.
So this week, when he finally, after 10 days, he tweeted he did not have a press conference. He tweeted out 10 days after the fire, right? And that's the thing, is that he's acting like there's just a train derailment. He hasn't even addressed the toxic fire that they set. And don't tell me he didn't know that they were going to set it on fire. Of course he knew they were going to set it on fire. So 10 days after, he tweets, I continue to be concerned about the impacts of the February 3 train derailment near East Palestine, Ohio, and the effects on families in the 10 days since their lives were upended through no fault of their own. It's important that families have access to useful and accurate information. And I'm like, that is the most underwhelming comment on what is the last environmental catastrophe that you can think of. Probably the oil spillage out in the Gulf. What was that, 10 years ago? To my mind, that's probably the last really big environmental catastrophe to hit the United States, right? He doesn't even mention it. And that is his underwhelming comment. You remember a few weeks, what was it, last year, or was it, and when Democrats were all getting together and saying, we're sick of you saying we're sending your prayers and love.
Yeah,
Enough of your prayers.
After school shootings.
Enough
or
of your
things like
prayers.
that,
No,
right?
but, well, I continue to be concerned. Isn't that like love, saying love and prayers? I mean, that's just even less how underwhelming
Yeah,
can this man be in this job?
I think it's
So,
still gaslighting. I think it's just gaslighting in the opposite direction. Because remember, you had
yeah,
said hyperbole is gaslighting.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
gaslighting in the opposite direction. This is pretending
yeah,
that something isn't a
right.
problem when it's a huge problem. It's a
Uh-huh.
massive problem.
Yeah. So I have, I thought I had this, speaking of technical problems.
Speaking of little train that could. This is where I
Aw,
got it from.
okay.
See that?
That looks, yeah.
cute,
Okay.
huh?
So after,
You're underwhelmed. Huh?
yeah, underwhelmed. Yeah, baby. Okay. So after, no, go away, advertisement. I don't want you. So on Valentine's Day, on February 14th, Ilhan Omar, and this is the first time I have ever agreed with anything this woman has said. She texted out, East Palestine railroad derailment will have a significant negative impact on the health and well-being of the residents for decades, and there is almost zero national media attention. We need congressional inquiry and direct action from Pete Buttigieg to address this tragedy. Totally fine. I can't even believe that
Yeah,
I really am surprised that she
You and
wrote-
apparently Senator Cruz
yeah.
as well.
So Ted Cruz retweeted it, and all he said was fully agree. And this was Buttigieg's. I can never say his name. This was his response.
Buttigieg.
This was his response to both of them. Glad to see newfound bipartisan agreement here. We could start by discussing immediate steps Congress could take to address rail safety and reduce constraints on U.S. Department of Transportation in this area. Give us a call. We can do some good work. Doesn't
What can
anything
you
need to
say?
be said
What can you
about
say?
that?
Nothing. Nothing needs to be said.
Unhyperbole of the
Yeah,
week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
So next topic that we want to do is a story that affects us because it's our congressman. Now, as you know, I am, pretty active on social media.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are.
I'm pretty active on social media. So I have been frequently attacked on social media whenever I make any reference to a story about my congressman, who I think is doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Um,
And we don't know him personally. We've never
no,
even met him.
No, I've never met him.
So it's not like we're rah, Matt Gaetz, you're doing
Nope.
we don't even know him. So
Well, we don't know him personally.
No, we don't know him
but
personally.
we certainly do know of him. And I was on social media and I was talking about this, and I was let's just say that I was frequently attacked for my defense
Right.
of my congressman. And almost always the attacks were around accusations that he had some kind of illicit relationship with a minor child. And
For a
the
long time.
news would frequently report on this.
Yeah.
And then I was walking through a gas station the other day, and I saw the headline in the local paper. This is one of the local papers here in Northwest Florida. And it said that the Defense Department had announced that they are not prosecuting my congressman.
Shocking.
And to that point, I wrote a Facebook post about this
Okay.
because I wanted to kind of have my say about what happens with these smears. So this is my response, and I just wanted to share it with you. The whole, and this is in, by the way, Cheryl Atkins's book. I think it's called Anatomy of the Smear, or The Smear, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But this is a textbook smear. So they make a horrific accusation. They say, oh, well, it looks like he was involved with trafficking minors for sex. And then they launch an investigation with a special prosecutor. Now, a good investigation takes time. So anybody who's an ally, and I felt this, like, should I defend Congressman Gates? Like, does this make sense to defend this guy? I don't, as you said, I don't know him. I don't have any special knowledge about whether or not he's guilty or innocent.
We have no delusions of grandeur that Republicans never sin.
Right,
or
right. And we
commit
certainly,
fraud,
right, or get
we know
involved
they
in
do.
illicit relationships,
Yeah,
right.
we know they do.
Remember that mayor, was it the governor of what, North Carolina or South Carolina, right?
He
He
was
was
taking
it was
trips
a
down to
conservative,
South America
right, and then he
with-
had a Brazilian
Yeah.
honey or something on
Yeah.
the side, father
Yeah.
of 5,
So,
So
yeah.
you just don't know.
Yeah.
But this is the beauty of the smear, right? We just kind of pull back. Even if we agree with them, we just keep a distance. Then the prosecutor's ethics preclude any official comment on the investigation. News reports write all about the allegations, and they constantly say alleged, alleged, alleged. But after the 68th story, you start to think, well, I mean,
Unless it's Trump, then they never say alleged.
right. And then the next thing that happens, and this happens certainly with Gates, is if anyone the target has ever known gets investigated, charged, or convicted, then there's a whole nother round of stories. And there are revelations that, quote unquote, anonymous sources near to the prosecution say the walls are closing. And this goes on, and it has for Congressman Gates. It's gone on for years.
Since 2017.
It's gone on
18,
for
something like
years.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he got elected after we moved here.
Yeah, it was not long after he got elected.
And then, of course, there's all kinds of sniping on social media, and everybody who sees this guy's name mentioned says, oh, yeah, he's a pedo. I mean, hundreds of times this happened to me.
Because they know.
Yeah, because they know.
They know. Yeah.
One of my friends on Facebook was very, very famous for this. So I actually tagged him in the Facebook post. As far as I can see, he has not responded. But here's the thing. Bearing false witness is one of the 10 big ones. The eternal judge.
That's what we call them? The 10 big ones
Yeah,
now?
the 10 big ones.
The 10 big ones.
The eternal judge often stays his hand out of mercy when we violate his laws. He hopes for us to repent. He was willing to give us grace, even though he knows we don't deserve it and likely won't repent. And then the headline, DOJ chooses not to charge Matt Gaetz in sex trafficking investigation. Now, the phrasing of that is very important.
Yeah.
He's not exonerated,
Nope.
and he never will be. That will always be able to be mentioned in the stories. He was once investigated, and that will be, his name will forever be Matt, once investigated by the DOJ for underage sex trafficking.
Yep.
Gaetz. That's how they'll title
Do
it.
it every time.
And
to
this is the
Republicans.
smear. So the only reason I brought this up was just to simply remind you, do not believe, do not pay attention to stories about these kinds of things. The initial story is almost always wrong. And look for the words allegation, investigation, and ignore those stories. I know it's hard to do. It certainly was for me. I found it very challenging to feel comfortable supporting him because, what if I went
And that was
all
the point.
Exactly.
Well, that was one of the points.
And if I went all in for him and
Yeah.
then it turned out, then great.
Yeah.
Now my Christian witness is damaged. Now I was, defending a pedo, So
Yeah,
it's just very important, I think,
it is.
to pay attention to this and make sure that you understand everything that you read in the paper. Everything has an agenda, and don't buy into it. What have you got next?
Yeah, and the
Go.
other thing is, you don't have to comment. You can just close your mouth or
And
not
say nothing.
not type and say nothing, and just wait to see what happens.
Yeah. Even if it takes a long time.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
I was just thinking, because you were talking about how much on social media you are.
Yes,
and
I
like
am.
here I am with this is the difference between us. Like I would go without my phone if I didn't have kids, just because I want to make sure my kids can call me if I'm at the store or something. This is me, notebook and pen. And if you could see all the technology over here,
It's all technology.
this is us.
This is us.
19th century,
This is us.
22nd century.
Yeah, this is us, baby.
We
So,
work well
what
together.
exciting things
Okay.
do you have to share
Okay.
from social
So
media?
the next thing that we have loaded up, Rihanna looks out the Overton window.
Ooh, I
Okay.
like it.
So,
does
Mr.
it
Political
mean?
Professor, would you like to explain what is the Overton window?
Well, the Overton window is what is permissible in polite society to talk about. So 10 years ago,
I like the way you put that.
thank you.
I like
10
that.
years ago, transing a child
Mhm.
was completely undiscussable.
Who,
But
who would even have thought of it?
yeah, I was
Regular people.
I was doing radio 10 years ago, and I tried to imagine scenes. That was part of what I did. In fact, the newspaper once said his hypothetical scenarios was what they charged me with, was
Yeah,
that he constantly spins hypothetical
Right,
scenarios. And I lacked the imagination to imaginate where we are now. But the truth is, this is where we are.
Yeah,
So that's what an Overton window is. Why is that important?
Well, a man named Joseph Overton, he lived from 1960 to 2003. He was a classical libertarian. He came up with, he was an engineer turned policy wonk, and he coined the phrase and the theory, the
Of the
Overton window. It's a political theory he created for the Mackinac Center for Public Policy. And it basically is, here's an example. It was the Texas governor, and his name is escaping my name right now.
Is it in the story?
I think so. Yeah, we're linking to the story. And if you don't understand what the Overton window is, read the story. It's really good, easy to read, political, policy wonk kind of thing.
Joseph Lehman?
Yeah, and so the governor of Texas proposes they need road money. Okay, so they've got a lot of bridges, just like we have in Florida.
Roads and bridges. It's all about the roads and bridges.
They know they have to raise money to fix the bridges. And so there's a lack of funds. So what he does to push the policy that he wants to pass, and again, was a Republican. So it's not like Republicans don't do it. They both do it because they both want to win on their issues, right? And they both want to win. Everybody wants to win re-election too. So you push the policy to the direction that you want. So what he did was he said, you know what? We need to raise more money for the bridges. So what we're going to do, we have a company in China who's willing to buy these bridges, and they'll put tolls, and that money will go to China, and then they're going to pay us.
I remember
to
this.
Fix, yeah.
It was a public-private partnership.
It was.
Okay.
And so what it did was it made, especially in Texas, it made the Texans say, you're not going to sell our bridges to China. What are you, crazy?
I remember this in Pennsylvania.
And so because the outrage was so big, because the thought of the bridges being owned by China, which now seems pretty normal for China to own everything. So
especially the cobalt.
It outraged the voters so much that then he could come back in and say, well, here's legislation. We're just going to up the tolls a little bit. And then the people were like, well, that's not so bad.
Okay.
So he pushes the Overton window, the thought of an acceptance of a policy that he wanted to pass so far to one side so that the people didn't feel it was that much of a budge then to meet him halfway.
Yeah, because hey, it's not $1 billion, it's only $100 million.
Yeah, so that's the theory of how the
why
Overton
is that important to us?
Okay, so what triggered my rant to be, and I'm going to try not to rant about this, but I'm a mama of 6, 3 girls and 3 boys. And I have seen, we've been parents now for 30 years and raising, so we've seen a huge
You
culture.
you just don't look that old.
Oh, Miss Claire all in makeup, and that's, thank God.
Yeah.
Or some things are just glad for chemicals, some chemicals. Okay, so when you are a parent for that many of raising young children, right? I don't mean like they're
Children of all ages.
Children of all ages. Okay, so you see such a generational shift in what you have to
Oh, it's been
fix
dramatic.
from that your kids are being influenced by the by the culture, that you're like, no, wait a minute, we don't dress like that in this house.
And
we don't say those words.
Right, and part of the point here is that our kids are spread over a long period of time.
Long
It's not like
period of
we
time.
had 6 kids and they're all grown and gone.
No, they literally span a generation.
Yeah.
And so we have seen as parents, this shift, and I'm just specifically talking about raising girls, is because I saw this
Now you want me to show
Vogue,
it?
yeah, I saw this article cover, magazine cover on British Vogue, which I apologize if that's too,
Yeah, we'll get
racy for
we'll get
people,
that,
but
we'll get that back in
so,
a little window
yeah,
here
so-
somehow if I can figure out how to do that. This is me
So-
trying to figure out how to make that go away.
and it's not like
There we go.
it's not like I read Vogue.
What?
Yeah, I don't.
You're not reading Vogue?
Imagine that.
Babe,
I
come
don't read
on.
Vogue. So, but the reason I noticed it was because
Now everybody's zooming in on their screen.
I know, what is that? What is that? Okay, so now I have to go back
What
to.
have we done?
Okay, so I am on Twitter, but not because I like being on Twitter.
You're on Twitter for the show. You didn't used to do
I
this.
only for this, because it's just, I find it so annoying. I think it's a waste of time. But you find, the truth is, you do find news stories. You do not find
Here,
on
I cleaned it
Fox
up a little bit.
News or
I
even
cleaned it up a
Breitbart.
little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Look, I cleaned it up a little bit.
Okay, that's good. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this and the Overton window together is because as I read through, I follow this guy, and pardon me, Mr. Bryson, I didn't know who you are. I don't listen to Christian rap. CCG Bryson. I like his tweets. I like what he tweets out.
We tried to listen to some of his
I'm
music.
not as hip as he is, but
We did try to listen to some of his
it's
music.
not my cup of tea. But
Yeah,
great.
if you like it,
it's but if you like Christian rap,
right? It's
you
more
know,
power
it's
to you.
what we listen to seem clean, and
But yeah.
it's just not my cup of tea. Just
Go ahead. go
okay.
ahead.
Anyway, so when he posted this, and he said his comment was, "This is the agenda," right on top of that picture, and that caught my eye because I was like, "Oh, well, good for him. He sees it." And 99% of the comments, of the hundreds of comments, as I scrolled through, they're like, "What, are you kidding? She looks great. She looks hot. She's fierce. She's a great mom. This is the modern nuclear family. What are you complaining about?" And
I guess we're supposed to be happy because it's actually the mother and the father of the child, and they're caring for the child.
yes, and
Is that
not
the
only
idea?
that,
Okay.
look, we didn't watch the Super Bowl. We didn't see her saying pregnant, so I can't even comment on that. I have no idea what her performance was like. So if you are waiting for me to comment on the Super Bowl, I have no idea. But in the fact that she didn't murder her two children while she was pregnant, yeah, that's great. But the point is, we would see, and CJ Bryson makes that point throughout the comments, and he says, look, if you don't see the agenda in this photograph, and there are some other photographs posted of articles, covers from other magazines posted. If you don't see it, I can't make you see it. And that's what the Overton window has done over the past 20 years, especially. We've taught our girls, we buy them t-shirts, not me, and probably not you, if you're a mama watching this, buy our little girls t-shirts that say, fierce, or, I just gotta be me.
You just
know-
want everybody to cancel and not watch the show? Is that the goal here? We're just going to get rid of everybody? That's all right.
Listen,
I've got a story too that's going to
Yeah,
get rid
but
of some people.
when those words and those when we acquiesce just a little bit to these things of, oh yeah, look at how she throws her hip out as a 2-year-old. Isn't that cute? No, it's not cute. It's not cute because it's not, look, teaching your girls to be feminine and kind, that used to be the norm. And now we teach our girls to be fierce and ferocious, and how to give that selfie stare and that pouty lip. No, that's not what we should be teaching our girls. But that's where the Overton window has shifted, because we've come to accept that, oh, that's so cute. No, it's cute. You may think it's cute when they're 2, but when they're 22 and they're not talking to you anymore, or they've had their second abortion, or they're, caring more about wearing the skimpiest outfit that they can take and take a picture of themselves. No, it's not it's not fierce. And this is how far the Overton window is shifted. And this is why we have a generation of women who despise motherhood. And I'm talking about on the whole. I'm not talking about individuals. Like
Yeah,
there are
builds.
girls who want to be mamas. They don't want to grow up to be mamas anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And being a mama is beautiful. It is wonderful. Yes, it's hard work. It is hard work, especially if you're a homeschooling mama. But it is so rewarding. It's so beautiful. And we have, instead of stopping that Overton window from shifting and teaching our girls that it is better to be fierce than be a mama, we have only hurt them.
We're never going to be popular. I'm just saying. I'm just saying we're ruined.
We're only going to have an audience of 10.
We're ruined. For those of you who are finding this helpful.
I got to say the truth.
Look, I'm about to up you. I'm about to one up you. So I got nothing to say. But for those of you who are, here
still listening
and still listening, I want to thank you for joining us. And also encourage you, if you do think, because look, the reason we're doing this broadcast is because we think the main reason that we as a nation are in the shape we're in is because we bought the lie that you shouldn't talk about religion and politics in polite society. Yeah. And that left a void, and that void was gladly filled by those who don't necessarily agree with our lifestyle. So I have a segment, which is probably just as offensive as
what does that say?
The next one. Oh no, wait a minute. Yeah. So this is apparently a musical, and it's not a musical that I've ever.
It's been around for a while. Everybody's gonna
apparently
think, where have you been?
Well, I have not been watching musicals, and apparently it's been a pretty popular musical.
Our kids love this musical,
and it's based on. It's roughly based on Oz.
Our daughters are going to comment on this.
It's roughly based on the Wizard of Oz. And, I didn't really know that much about it, but as I was thinking about this, I did some research to try to find out what it is. And here's the thing. I'm not going to go to some right-wing conservative Christian website and read what they say about it, how they condemn it. I'm just going to go to the overview on a website called Super Summary. It's a book apparently by Gregory Maguire. I'm just going to read the Super Summary Guide of Wicked by Gregory Maguire. This is a modern alternative to Spark Notes, Cliff Notes, and Super Summary. By the way, I thought Spark Notes were still a thing, so I didn't realize that we needed. I didn't realize we needed a modern version, but because I thought it was still a thing. But who
is the ancient person here?
So here's the overview. Wicked: The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, which apparently was the story in 1995 by Gregory Maguire, reimagines the central antagonist of the iconic story, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, which was published in 1900 by L. Frank Baum. It became central to American pop culture. Well, people weren't thinking that it was boring until you pointed out that I was reading it, but thanks. The 1939 film adaptation starring Judy Garland. Allusions to the original story recur through the film, TV, and novels. Decades later, expressions like, and this is the Overton window. We're not in Kansas anymore, somewhere over the rainbow. These live on as prominent symbols like Yellow Brick Road or Dorothy's Ruby Red Slippers, right? So our culture understood because of that moment.
Which were silver in the book, by the way.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
They were ruby because it was the first movie in Technicolor.
So here's the shift. To your point about the shift. Here's the shift. In Wicked, Maguire adapts these symbols and stories to give voice to the original's stock villain, the green-skinned Wicked Witch of the West. Here's the key phrase. Tell me how this is okay. In humanizing this antagonist, Maguire questions the stark binary between good and evil. Now, tell me that isn't an intentional shift. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
His retelling constructs a magical, topsy-turvy world that parallels the socioeconomic and political themes of his contemporary readers' society. Part revisionist history, part social critical analysis. Again, I'm not saying this. This is what he's saying.
This is what he's
Wicked employs various literary devices to develop a narrative that transports readers into a setting that is both fantastical and all too human. Apparently, it's become the sensationally popular, is the second highest grossing musical.
It's been
But
around for a while.
here's the problem. It's intentionally designed to flip good and evil. Now, you can say, well, David, you're reading too much into this. It's just a story. But just like the original story shaped the way we think about the world, about good and evil, this story is intentionally doing this. And I make an analogy when I think about this to Seinfeld. Seinfeld shifted the Overton window in a big way. Seinfeld was very popular, earlier when we were younger. And it was supposedly a story about nothing. It was supposedly a comedy show about nothing. But in fact, it wasn't. It very much was about shifting the Overton window. And one of the most famous lines that has now become part of the culture is not that there's anything wrong with that. And that seems innocuous. It's funny. Look, it's funny. It's funny. And Wicked is probably a great and interesting and wonderful production. My point in bringing this up is simply this. It's not innocent. It may be wonderful. It may be well produced. It may be memorable. It may be all those things, but it's not innocent. And people who are constantly asking, how did we get here? Because I hear this all the time. Well, how did we get to this place? It seems like this all happened suddenly. No, it started with Seinfeld saying, not that there's anything wrong with that. It transferred to McGuire and Wicked and saying, well, we're going to write a new story. We're going to take that stock villain and we're going to blur the lines between good and evil. Again, I've never seen it. I'm just reading what they say about it. So now we've gotten rid of our very last listener. So what else? What else?
That's amazing, though, that we both picked a story.
About the Overton window.
That's amazing. Okay, so
it's almost like we're married or something. And by the way, if you are still with us, just saying, if you are still with us, maybe subscribe, share, talk to other people, because here's what we're trying to do. We are intentionally trying to shift the Overton window back. We are trying to say, no, it's not okay to take small children and talk to them about gender identity. It's not okay to say that the Bible is silent on issues that it's clearly not silent on. It's not okay to downplay things that are bad. It's not okay to say religion and politics shouldn't be talked about. We have to. Politics is simply the way we as a group govern ourselves.
It's not okay for teachers to tell their students, you don't have to tell your parents this. I'll be your advocate. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. Because number one, look, I am a teacher and I was a teacher in school and then I became a homeschooling mama. Look, you don't have the right as a teacher to tell someone's child that they have to keep a secret what you're teaching them.
That's wrong.
That's
wrong.
evil.
It's unacceptable.
That is evil.
So last section is this one you're gonna surprise me like I did to you last
we
week.
haven't done this since the first broadcast.
Maybe there's a reason.
Well, because we always have so much.
Oh, okay.
But we did say once in a while we would do this, and it's David does Twitter, and I'm just going to go through my Twitter feed because we generally have very different people or things that we follow. I don't ever tweet, but I just follow. I know you like to do all that. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to see what's up here.
Okay.
So somebody that I really like, and he's become kind of famous on Twitter, Simon Atiba. He's
I heard about him.
He's African journalist.
Right, he's a reporter. He's a White House press reporter.
Yeah, he's an actual Black African journalist. And Karine Jean-Pierre always, she never picks on him.
You mean she never calls on him?
She never calls.
By doing that, she picks on him.
But because of he's become famous for that. And he's developed, Tucker Carlson had him on a month
really?
ago or something. And he
Nice.
gained like 60,000 followers overnight.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he gained
So-
20 pounds.
I don't know.
Because
So-
when you go on TV, you gain.
Okay, so he tweeted out today, based on all the polls that I've conducted with thousands of responses, I can categorically say that as of today, I don't see any other GOP candidate who can beat Donald Trump in the primaries. The only candidate who comes closer, but is still 20 points down, I had to click on it to go, sorry, is Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis. All other potential ones, including Pompeo, Pence, Haley, Scott, poll less than 8% combined. Now, some of the left believe Trump will be indicted and may be barred from running. However, I thought tweets couldn't be this long. However, an indictment is
An
not a
indictment?
conviction, as Trump will go to court, and that court trial is likely to make him more popular
Yeah, of course.
during a contentious
Yeah.
presidential election and hand him the presidency. What are your thoughts? Agree or
Yeah.
disagree?
So,
And that is Simon Atiba, if you're
yeah.
interested.
So I think it's very good. First of all, it's a very good thing to have a contentious primary. It's a very, very good thing because it sharpens the candidates. It helps them to identify what is important to the voters. It helps them to get to see it in real time. And the voters get to see and know the candidate better. An uncontentious primary makes you weak.
Yeah,
I have no idea. It is far too early to know what's going to happen.
definitely.
From the perspective of former President Donald Trump, it is absolutely in his favor to have a large field because
Yeah.
that's how he won last
Mhm.
time. He always was at 30, 35, 40%, and he just kept one at a time picking people off. He's very, very good at that. I don't really have that much excitement about the 2024 race because I don't think we
Here
finished.
we go. Now we're definitely on.
Yeah,
YouTube.
we're going to get thrown off. Well, I don't think we've resolved the question of can we run a nationwide election
Nope.
where there aren't serious questions about the vote on one side or the other. And in the absence of that, I don't think it matters who is the candidate because if you haven't got a straight up count of the vote that everybody trusts, it won't make any difference at all because some people will simply not go to vote because they don't think their vote will count. And that's true on both sides. I'm not making any judgments about it. Part of the whole game in 2020 was to make the auditing of any given election so difficult as to make it impossible, impractical, and therefore just using the natural human response of just saying, all right, that's enough. I can't take any more of this. Let's just move on, that we would do just that.
So, and if he continues with the Ron DeSanctimonious, he's going to lose Florida. Trump won't win Florida because
Well, that's not true.
we love
That's
our
not true.
gov. We love our gov.
No, we do love our gov, but at the end of the day, what Trump understands is that he will be able to get Republicans and independents to rally behind him. He's proven that. It's
I
not.
understand that, but not. We're talking about the primary.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he loses Florida.
No,
in the
I just mean
primary.
he won't.
As long as he gets more votes by the convention, then he's the
I
nominee.
didn't mean that.
Oh.
Losing Florida primary is, but it
I thought
will
you meant
be
general election.
But it will be a state. I don't think he'll win
In the general?
in the primary race.
Oh, no, he
because-
won't. No, Ron will win.
Yeah.
In the
Stop calling him Ron DeSanctimonious, Mr. President. And I like you, but stop it. We love him. Anyway, next tweet. Okay, David Wolf. Do you follow?
It's her
David?
eyes you should watch.
Do you follow David Wolf?
I don't know.
See his face there. Okay, I like David Wolf. I started actually reading his stuff even way before Twitter and stuff because of health stuff. I don't
Is he
agree
a
with
doctor?
it. I don't remember, but he has a lot of natural health stuff. Okay.
He's a
And
wolf.
he says he tweeted out today, they're going to fake an alien invasion with the technology they've been hiding from us. This is the final move of the New World Order to put their Antichrist leader on top of the one world satanic government. Okay, now he tags this video.
Wait, what?
He tags
No,
this
no,
video.
that's a fake video, hon.
I know.
Oh.
But that's what he's saying. fake. He said they're going to create, look, you know, there are going to be millions of Americans who are going to be like, alien invasion, it's real.
Have you seen any of these deep fake videos where they take a
He
person's
knows, David
face?
Wolf knows this is fake.
No, but I'm saying, have you seen any of these where they show a person and the person is speaking
Yes.
and they get them to say all kinds of crazy
is
things?
creepy.
Yeah. So the point of that.
I'm going to go ahead. And
No,
pick
the
out
point of
next
that,
one.
but the point of that, right? The point of developing that is just because we can. That's part one. But what they're undermining is essentially all trust. And whenever there's a dramatic loss of trust, authoritarianism seems more attractive. We just need somebody. Same thing as the other story. Just fine, whatever. You lost. We can't audit the count. Just leave it alone. And that's part of what we're going through. And it's going to take some resiliency on our part.
Okay,
To not despair, because the
Yeah.
truth will out. The truth will out. But there's going to be a lot of stuff you see. And this is, since you mentioned this. This is really important. I feel like so often we are tempted to share things without first verifying them. And I've occasionally done it myself, so I'm not going to say I'm above reproach, but it's really important to actually approach even stories, especially stories that resonate with you, that you agree with, approach them with a little bit of skepticism and just go, yeah, I don't know. I'll wait. I don't need to respond. Like you said before, I don't need to respond right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And to use your gut and say, that's parody. Come on. That's parody.
Yeah, that's
That is
getting
not
harder
real.
though.
I know. Okay. So
That's getting harder.
So one more. We'll
Okay.
do one more. Okay. This one is called The Vigilant Fox. Do you follow The Vigilant Fox?
I think I might.
Okay. Now we're definitely going to be kicked off Twitter for this one.
Oh, no.
Okay. Or, I mean, YouTube.
Wherever you won't get kicked off Twitter.
Okay,
Well, I don't even know if we're on YouTube. I can't
Oh,
tell.
okay.
I mean, I think it's going out. It
Okay,
says it's
so-
broadcasting,
okay.
but I don't know.
All right. So this was from this afternoon. Unprecedented rates of adverse events. We need to pull these shots off the market. And then he or she, I don't know who the Vigilant Fox is. Swine flu vaccine, 1976, pulled after showing a 1 in 100,000
Yeah.
risk of
Yeah.
Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Yeah, that's true.
Rotavirus vaccine, 1999, pulled after showing a 1 in 10,000 risk of bowel obstruction.
How do we not remember this?
COVID jab, December 2020, still on the market
Well, mandated.
with a serious adverse event rate between 1 in 800 and 1 in 1,000. And Dr. Asim Malhotra, if you don't follow him,
Yeah.
he's fabulous. He asks, why is this not being pulled? So we go from 1976,
Right.
we pulled the swine flu vaccine when it was just 1 in 100,000
Yeah.
showing Guillain-Barré, to now we're doing 1 in 800.
Yeah. So
And it's
here's
not being pulled.
here's the bright side. You know
And
me.
we know it's more than that.
You know me. I'm an optimist. What do you call me?
A hopeless optimist.
Hopeless optimist. Yeah, that's it.
A ridiculous optimist.
So here's the optimistic side of this, right? I know lots of people, not just regular people, but prominent people. Michael Knowles just said this the other day, who were not at all inclined to question
Michael
anything.
Knowles said it.
No, I'm just saying he's a prominent person
No, I love
with
Michael
a
Knowles.
with a what Harvard or Yale
Yeah.
or what Yale. He's a
He's
Yale.
Yaley, yeah.
With a Yale education, who's connected and popular and famous.
Mhm.
And in his Ask Michael Anything segment, he actually said, no, I seriously question all vaccines. And when I heard that, I was like,
I was shocked.
wow. But this is the thing. Overreach often causes a reaction in the opposite direction. And that's
It's
where we're
true.
at.
And Candace Owens is really responsible
Yeah.
for that.
Well, he said that. He credited her with being, the person who helped him to see this. So I, for one, as a longtime skeptic of all authoritarian medicine,
Yeah.
and I will say it that way because I
We
don't
both are.
I don't
We both are.
I don't ascribe ill motives to any one individual, but I do not like authoritarian medicine. I do not like the idea that you have to do what I say, you have to accept what I say, and anything else is a waste of time.
Well, see,
I
that's
just
where-
don't buy that.
That's where we diverge, because I do
I know you do.
ascribe evil motives to certain doctors,
I
because
know you do.
did you see the video of the doctors, the abortion doctors? I can't even. I saw the video only in scrolling by. They were,
Yeah.
all I'm going to say is, look, those kinds of doctors, anybody who's watching this has probably seen what they did
Yeah.
with the babies that they aborted, with their sweet little dead, this dead baby. I mean, no, though there are lots and lots of evil doctors out there who don't care
that's fair.
about,
That's
they don't
fair.
care.
That's fair. All right. So for both of you, I want to thank you for staying with us all the way to the end. It's really, really kind of you. I've put the little tag up. We'll continue to iterate. We'll try to find new ways. We did fix, I think we fixed the audio.
I know. Sorry about last week.
Yeah, last week was abysmal. That's why we fired the. Well, no, it's not me, honey. The whole joke is that there's someone else and I keep firing.
Right.
Oh,
I wrecked it.
you did. All right.
I don't think they knew at all.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.